Hey everyone, welcome to Brainstorm Brewery. This is the opposite of Corbin Hostler. I am not a Merfolk player. I am better at Magic than him. I don't run into light poles, and I am a guest on Brainstorm Brewery, but I'm taking over the intro. I got Jason Alt with me. I got Jeff with me here for a special guest. And Jeff, why don't you tell everyone hello?
Hello, I'm Jeff.
So you have an interesting hobby turned job, I guess is the best way to put it. We have you on because the tax day is coming up in about a month and a half or so, and some people who listen to this podcast might be interested in learning how taxes are impacted and intersect with Magic the Gathering finance.
That's right, yeah. When I was teaching down in Georgia, I started volunteering and doing taxes, and now at this point it's kind of my side hustle, I guess.
So why would you volunteer to that's some masochistic stuff, man. I don't even
Well, I was a math professor, so numbers has definitely always been my thing, and where I lived was a pretty low-income area, and I felt that it was a good thing to do. Through the AARP and the IRS, they do free taxes for low-income and elderly people. Definitely lots of low-income people. I remember one person who came in and she made $8,000 of Social Security was her only income, and she had spent it all on some mid-level marketing scam thing.
Oh, Jesus.
So it was a good 4 years, I think I did that down there in Georgia while I was teaching. And it was before I had kids, so it was a lot more free time. And then once I had kids and moved up to Cleveland, Ohio, closer to home, it was harder to...
Wait, you moved to Cleveland voluntarily?
I did, that's right. I'm from Toledo, Ohio originally, and...
Oh, that's worse.
All I know about Toledo, Ohio is from what the show AP Bio has taught me that Jason showed me.
I haven't seen that show
yet. That's about Toledo. That's where Frogtown Games
That's
is.
right. Yeah, I've played that store. That's a good store.
Yeah, I've done a lot of comedy in Toledo, not so much Magic. I guess it's a good place to leave. Toledo is like, it was so bad that Michigan and Ohio kind of fought over it, over who didn't get to have it, and then the president was like, look, Michigan, we'll give you the whole northern peninsula.
That's like the opposite of Strasbourg, where like France and Germany fought wars over it. They're just fighting wars to secede it. Like,
yeah.
No, you can have it.
And so, like, we get the whole UP, and then Canada's like, that's our land. And everyone's like, shut up, Canada. And they're like, sorry. And, yeah, Michigan got the Upper Peninsula, and Ohio got Toledo. And we definitely got the better end of that deal. Except the ice guillotines are back. If you're someone who went to patreon.com/brainstorm brewery and gave us $20 a month, you get to hear the after hours where I regaled everyone with a tale of ice guillotines on the Mackinac Bridge. That happened again this year, and some dude just got a big chunk of ice in his passenger seat while he was driving.
Jesus.
And, it just fell in his car.
Like next to him, right? Not like he didn't get like...
Yeah, it didn't like kill his wife. It's just like it just landed in his car. If it had been a few, like 1 foot to the other side, it would have landed on him and killed him. So, yeah, they shut the bridge down from falling ice. It's serious business, man.
That's some like Super Mario level, like what are they called? The big stone things that fall, like...
I don't know, actually.
Thwomps. They're called thwomps.
Thwomp?
I think they're called thwomps.
Do you have matching thwomp in your deck, or do you have myth-met thwomp? If you have a bunch of thwomp to get to you... Cabal Cufferth. Alright, that's enough of that.
Speaking of mismatch basics, congrats to Autumn Burchett for their Mythic Championship win.
That's right. I bought Autumn a set of matching islands. They do not want them, so we're going to be donating a set of matching basics to a listener.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
All right, that's a thing now, I guess. Sure.
Whoever, like, I'm just going to do a tweet about it, and whoever retweets it gets entered in a chance to win. Because those islands bothered me, but clearly they didn't bother Autumn, so I want someone to have a set of matching basics. If it's not going to be them, it can be somebody else.
And matching basics can sometimes be a breaking bulk. We've had some great basic lands be breaking bulks, and breaking bulk is also a great segment where you can make enough money to have to report it to the IRS, right? That's a great segue.
That's right.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
Are you segueing into our guest, or are you segueing into breaking bulk?
Yes.
Cool. So you want our guest to start breaking bulk?
I have a Fifth Dawn Black Uncommon that I don't think has ever been reprinted, but I will check. Fifth Dawn Black Uncommon.
I'm
checking to make sure it hasn't been reprinted. It has not. It is a low-level Card Kingdom nickel pick. So it's not any super fancy. It's just I
can't think of. There's so many. All the art runs. Is this like a lion dude covered in oil or something? What's the art?
It looks like a wolf being sort of arrested or reclaimed or strangled by some magic-y light stuff. Which is weird because art, the name of the card sort of contradicts the art, and it's like, it is some, I don't know, it's like a metallic wolf being strangled.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm sorry.
Corbin
wouldn't know either, but he would look it up and cheat.
Devour in Shadow is a black instant.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that was reprinted. Creature.
It can't be regenerated. I looked it up, so no. It can't be regenerated. You lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So it is murder for one less colorless mana, but you lose some life as a part of it. I actually think I might play this in... I might just slide this into Selenia if I ever get the chance, just because that deck is always looking for ways to deal damage to itself in moderate increments.
We played that card back in the day. It killed artifact creatures. It killed black creatures. It got play, man. Especially because you were corrupting people and stuff. You can get the life back. Cuckoo showing.
Yeah, I mean it's not like a big dollar pick or anything like that, but it's just something you find when when the rest of the bulk is stripped bare. You just find like a stripe of these or something. It's not something you just pass over.
Yeah. Card Kingdom Nickel. I have a card that's got one reprint. Its most recent reprint was in Commander 2017. It was originally in Fate Reforged. It is a green card.
Oh, god damn it! I can think of the name. Or I can't think of.
Is this too obvious? I got this in Commander 2017 bulk. Maybe that's a little bit obvious. The card I was gonna say is Teamer Sabertooth.
It's the double the. Is it the double the counters thing?
No, it's Teamer Sabertooth.
Oh, okay. No, actually, I wasn't gonna get that right.
Oh, I'm sure most people know that's over $1. That one's a little bit easy. Teamer Sabertooth. It's it's a green way to return a creature you control to its owner's hand, which is like you can recast commanders that are got a bit high commander tax, or bounce combo pieces back to your hand, or just give yourself like another bounce of your cheap mana creature to drop and draw a card, with your Soul to Harvest or something like that. So Teamer Sabertooth is a real important combo piece, and even though it's been printed twice, both times at uncommon, and as recently as 2017, it's back up above $1. So pull those out of bulk. But if that's a little bit too easy, how about on an Amonkhet green creature? Uncommon.
Amonkhet green creature.
Green uncommon creature.
I actually don't know.
It's 3 mana.
I
Okay,
assume
that's
it
enough
has
suspense.
to do something with -1 counters.
No, it's Manglehorn.
Oh, duh, yeah.
Why are we thinking counters?
I was thinking it had to do something with like -1/-1 counters and have Patra, but that's the spider from Hour of Devastation.
Yeah, so Manglehorn, I like it because it doesn't blow up enchantments but when it comes into play, but most of the time I find myself blowing up artifacts, and it makes your opponent's artifacts onto the battlefield tapped, and that has really screwed over a lot of people. I really like those frosting effects, the stuff that makes the Kismet stuff.
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
That makes your opponent's stuff come into play tapped. That seems kind of weak, but like when someone tries to combo off of like, and all their Pester Mites are coming into play tapped and they can't attack with them, like that's a lot of fun. So a lot of combos get screwed over by stuff like that. That's like my preferred sort of.
Authority of the Consuls is like one of my fastest moving cards in terms of velocity.
Yeah, I like Blind Obedience a lot because it does 2 things.
I like that one a lot. It just got reprinted too many times, which is unfortunate. Like power,
I like it as a card to put in
power
decks,
wise, it's
but
fantastic. It's just got like
Yeah.
it was one of those cards that if it didn't get another reprint, it was going to go from 2 to 5 over the course of a couple of years. And then now it's just like.
So Manglehorn's it's a great card, and people still tend to play maybe Acidic Slime or Elvish Rejuvenator over it, but I like Manglehorn because they can't chain their artifacts together. This shuts down quite a few decks.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least slows them down. So, yep, that's the one you put on the spreadsheet. But, hey, I'll give you a bonus pick. If you didn't know Temur Sabertooth was above $1, it definitely is. And it's definitely played in decks like Animar and Selvala and Maelstrom Wander. It's a solid card. And it's an expensive foil because it has been identified as an EDH card.
All right, I've got a green uncommon from Torment.
From Torment?
Yes.
Green uncommon from Torment?
Yeah.
Is it the worm
evolution?
That's rare.
I'm trying.
Is it the worm with madness?
It is the worm with madness.
What's that?
Okay.
What's that called?
It's named Arrogant Worm.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's got color shifted.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's 4/4 trample with 2 green madness.
What's the card? There's a card I'm thinking of where it's like I think it's a green Torment card, but it's like has an effect that should have been rare but wasn't.
Okay.
I'm trying to. Now it's bugging me.
Cool story. Well, why don't you go find that out, and then the rest of us will podcast. Actually, you're driving the bus, so yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I was gonna say. So, Jeff, one of the biggest things that you reached out to us for that people need to know about in terms of changes in tax law is how they impact hobby income and Magic specifically.
That's right. So a lot of people who do make some money selling cards, but also play the game, used to be considered hobby income, and they used to be able to deduct any hobby expenses in order to not pay taxes on their hobby income. But with the tax law changes that went into effect this year, for 2018, then hobby expenses is no longer deductible. So if you have hobby income, you're just going to have to claim it as income, or you have to file a Schedule C and claim yourself as a business in order to deduct those expenses. And the problem with that is that the IRS does check after a few years of filing as a business with losses over and over and over. They might contact you and say, are you really a business? Are you trying to make a profit? Or are you just doing a hobby? So that is one of the big changes this year that people should be aware of. In general, like for the tax law changes, we could have 10 podcasts on it, and I'm sure there are tax podcasts, I'm sure, out there. I don't listen to any of those ones. But for...
You're a math professor and you don't listen to tax podcasts? What kind of professor are you?
How are you supposed to get a woman in the mood if you don't put on a...
Just put on a tax podcast in the background as sexy time noise and...
I'm going to divide those legs and multiply.
Oh, sorry. Did you have something
No, you
else?
go ahead.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people listening to this podcast are in that sort of boat where most of the time they're just playing the game. Every now and again they hit a good spec, or they buy a really sweet collection, then sell it for a few $1,000s. What would you say is the magical breaking point where somebody should really start to look into like reporting this as actual revenue as a side hustle?
Well, the first thing that you definitely will have to report during income is if you do get a 1099-K from TCG Player. Because if TCG Player sends you that tax form, then they're going to send that tax form to the IRS as well. It may take a year or two before the IRS contacts you, but eventually they will send you a letter saying you have all this income that you didn't report. Pay us taxes on it now, is the way they always say it. They always word their letters as threatening as possible to try to get you to respond. But you do have time to respond and make adjustments to what they are claiming as your income. If you don't get anything from the IRS, you are...
They're planning to audit you.
Exactly. They do audit people. Obviously, the current government has been cutting the budget for IRS auditors, so they are severely understaffed. But, I mean, I definitely get clients every year who come in because they got tax letters saying that they owed money to the IRS. The first year I did it, I had somebody come in with 5 years worth of taxes that they had not filed. So that one took quite a long time to take care of for them. But you're required to file if you have more than $400 of self-employment income.
In a year?
In a year. Because the self-employment income does not get withheld for Social Security or Medicare. And as a taxpayer and the self-employed taxpayer, you're required to pay into Social Security and Medicare for that. So that's why the filing requirement is so low for self-employment income.
So no, here's a good one. So some Magic players who have these sort of side hustles where they're selling a lot of cards or they're moving a lot of cardboard through various websites like TCG Player. Maybe they buy listed a ton of cards to a place. Maybe they sold a lot of cards at a GP and they need to report that income. They're getting more than just a regular old W-2. How do you go about finding somebody to do your taxes when they're complicated? I mean, to a lot of people in this sort of industry, it's more than just like going to TurboTax and filling out one specific form.
That's right. That's a great question. And as people get more complicated income, they need to they could find an accountant or a tax preparer. I'm not a certified public accountant. I'm just a tax preparer. I've taken lots of classes in order to learn how to file business taxes. But obviously I work with H&R Block, and we have offices in every city in America, so you can certainly call them up and go in and find an accountant, a tax preparer that you are comfortable with. There are also CPAs in every town who you can look up and Google them and then just meet with them, see if you're comfortable talking to them about everything. There are certainly some people who are better than others. And after you've done it for a year, then if you like it, then it'll be easy the second year. And if not, then find finding a new person the next year is probably a good idea if you weren't thrilled with your service the previous year.
Fair enough. So what specifically is the difference between a certified public accountant and a tax preparer, and how much should somebody reasonably expect to be sort of shelling out for that service if somebody's looking to just instead of like going to get it done for free, how much should somebody look to be paying for that kind of service?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a certified public accountant went to school for accounting. They had to take some tests depending on the state in order to be considered a certified public accountant, and they have the ability to do more things like represent you in front of the IRS. There's a tax preparer is just anybody who has taken the basic continuing education requirements with the IRS. Every year I have to do 18 hours of classes, 13 hours on taxes, 2 hours on ethics, and 3 hours of tax updates from the previous year. And
are the ethics videos just like those corny 90s HR videos?
Yeah, all of my stuff is basically just online text, but I'm sure there are plenty of those corny ethics ones.
It's just Bernie Sanders in an ill-fitting suit yelling at you.
But there is another step between tax preparer and a CPA, which is called an enrolled agent. And I took the first of 3 tests for the enrolled agent, and those people can then represent you for audits and that in front of the IRS. Tax preparers, usually the way a CPA office works is that there's one CPA and then they hire 2 or 3 tax preparers to actually put all the numbers in, and then the CPA just signs off on it. That's right. So even if you do go to a CPA to get your taxes done, most likely they will be prepared by one of the tax preparers anyway.
So do you have any like specific software you'd recommend for somebody who's like buying and selling collections, and then also itemizing and keeping track, and like just sort of doing their due diligence in terms of spreadsheets and making sure that they have somebody sign off on all the collections they sell and buy and all that stuff?
I mean, I've definitely had clients who've used like Quicken Books, but that's, I think, probably is more complicated than the average Magic the Gathering financier needs.
Yeah, I've always been a little neurotic with how my expense reports and my spreadsheets and all that stuff, and I could not use QuickBooks. I tried it and I do not like it at all.
I see. What do you use?
Just plain old Google document, just Google Sheets.
Okay, that is actually what I was going to recommend. For most people, just having a Google Sheets will be enough. Just record every purchase you make, and then record every sale you make, and when you subtract the difference, you'll find out whether you made money or lost money for the year.
Now, if you get audited, will that spreadsheet be enough, or you need some sort of receipt?
Yeah, that should be enough. I mean, if they actually looked into it, they might ask you to prove some of it, so you should save your receipts for 7 years. I would certainly recommend a person who does the Magic the Gathering finance to save everything for longer than the standard time. So I'd save everything for 7 years, because you never know when that audit can happen. People are only allowed to amend their taxes for 3 years, but the IRS can go back even farther than that.
Now, you'll have a record of your sales if you're doing it through a platform like eBay or TCG Player.
Exactly. Yeah,
that'll have your keep track of all that for you.
Sorry.
Another thing to note about the selling on TCG Player, specifically with sales tax, is that TCG will collect that sales tax for you depending on the state in which the buyer is in, and then so that's not something that you individually have to worry about if you are going to report as a business. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, certainly sales tax is a state-by-state law, and so that's not something I can speak on necessarily, but I guess I would, yeah, I guess single sales they just assume they're taxed for all states, or what do they do for that? Do you know?
I believe
You're the guy. We brought you
I
on
don't know.
to
Like I said, sales tax is a state
TCG
law.
players specifically, I believe it is they collect sales tax for the states where they have employees. I believe that is the case. Like New York, obviously, TCG players based out of New York, so they collect sales tax for sales in New York, and that's a little frustrating for me because sometimes I end up choosing not to buy from TCG of that, and that's not really their fault. But I mean, it's just one of those. Oh man, this spec is great, and I could make like this much % on it if it goes up. Oh, but then I end up paying that lovely 8.5%. So maybe I should just get it elsewhere. Yeah. Unfortunate, but that's okay.
But yeah, there was the recent Supreme Court law about sales tax, but that applies more to the platform than I think the individual sellers.
Right, that's more of twisting Amazon and eBay's
Exactly.
twisting their wrist instead of impacting you. That doesn't really
Right.
end up making you have to start recording giant books or doing 50 different tax forms for 50 different states or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So I think for almost every single listener of Brainstorm Brewery, they do not have to worry about sales tax. Theoretically, every single listener of Brainstorm Brewery should be paying what they call use tax to their state on their state tax return, which is where you pay your own sales tax on the sales or on the purchases you made online that did not have sales tax recorded. But
Yeah, we're on the honor system
Exactly.
for that for right now. So
well,
I totally do
that's
it.
right. I totally do it too. All of the tax system is on the honor system.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The entire way it works is that
I made negative $80,000 this year, I swearsies.
is that they will audit a small percentage of people in order to scare everybody else into reporting their income correctly. And it works very well.
Like, what percentage are we talking? Like,
Uh,
we're gamers, right? We play the odds, so
it is 99%. No.
99% of people are audited.
But the
I've
first
just
thing,
dodged the bullet every year. Woo!
yes, if you haven't been audited, you are the luckiest person alive.
I mean, 1% is still a lot of Americans.
That is true. No, but it's significantly lower than that. But the very first thing that they do whenever you file a tax return electronically, which is how everybody files taxes now, is that it checks Social Security numbers, birth dates, and names, that those are all correct, and then it checks your W-2 incomes against the W-2 that have been reported to them. So everybody gets a basic computerized audit immediately after filing. So if you thought that during the government shutdown you could file your taxes and just lie about how much your W-2 income was since nobody was working at the IRS, the computer was still working and checked your tax return immediately.
I filed during the shutdown.
Good.
I lied my ass off. No.
Those Windows XP
I was like, I want to
computers will
make
get
sure
you.
that whoever's processing refunds went back to work first.
Yeah, that was probably honestly one of the big reasons why the shutdown ended, was that they were scared about refunds not getting processed in time.
Now, can we talk about refunds? Because something happened a little bit different with the tax code. I think the Trump administration wanted everyone's paycheck to be $5 bigger so they could say, suck it, Obama. And not a lot of people adjusted their withholding. Is that correct?
That's right.
So can you talk about tax season is a time when people get their refund checks, and a lot of people splurge on Magic cards. So can we expect to see that affect the same this year, or do you think it'll be different?
Almost everybody who I filed taxes has had a lower refund than they did the previous year. Because, like you said, everybody got $5 extra a week, which was totally unnoticeable, and then they get less money at the end of the year, which they will notice and complain about on Twitter and Instagram, Snapchat, whatever.
But not in the polling booth.
That's right. So the big reason for anybody who had more complicated taxes, they could have been significantly hurt come tax time. Whether or not they paid less taxes overall, their refund or balance due could have been severely impacted by some of the tax law changes. So one of my colleagues and I, we spent a long time with all of our clients trying to get them to update their withholdings for this year in order to not hit that. But everybody else who didn't change their withholdings is going to pay a lot, or is going to get a lot smaller refund because of the tax law changes. And I wonder if that will affect what is usually this winter-spring spike in Magic cards. Because when people got $5 extra in their paycheck, they probably weren't going to spend exactly in order to spend it all in March. But
now, what if someone was taking the standard deduction? Didn't that double?
The standard deduction doubled, but the personal exemptions went away. So in the past, for a single person who last year would have been just over $6,000 for the standard deduction and just over $4,000 for the personal exemption, which was basically $10,500, got subtracted before calculating tax. This year, that went up to $12,000. If you had a child...
What is the explain like I'm 5 version of all of that? What is...
Sure. Basically, the standard deduction and what used to be a personal exemption were just things that the government gave to lower taxes on low-income people. It give you a certain baseline of income that you would have tax-free.
I see.
This year, nobody pays taxes on their first $12,000 of income because the standard deduction is $12,000, and you subtract that off before calculating tax. After you make $12,001, you start paying tax. That does not mean you are taxed on that first $12,000. The biggest myth about taxes is that it is bad to go up into the next tax bracket, and that is not true. The way the income tax system works is if you make more money during the year, you will keep more money in your bank account after taxes. So anybody out there who has heard from their friend of a friend that they should avoid overtime in order to stay in the lower tax bracket, that's a myth. You should take all the overtime you can get. You should make as much money as you can, and you'll have more money at the end of the year.
And if your buddy knew, he wouldn't be working next to you on an assembly line.
Right. So, for example, this year the $12,000 is the standard deduction. If you made $13,000 and your buddy says, oh no, don't do that, you're going to get into the next tax bracket and pay 10% tax on $13,000, that'll be $1,300, and you just lost $300. That's not true. You pay 10% on that $1,000 you made
just the
over $12,000. Yeah. So you pay $100 of taxes, and you go home with $12,900. So you just made $900, and your buddy didn't take the overtime, and you took his $900 that he should have earned. Or he could.
Yeah, but while you were working overtime, he was, keeping your wife company. So now, pretend I'm somebody that just thinks about taxes to last longer in bed. Do you have any recommendations for what someone like me should do this year that maybe I didn't do last year? Is there any way to take advantage of the new tax system to have a little bit more money around tax time to blow on Magic cards, or set myself up as a business in the next year, or sort of take some of the I lost a lot of deductions that I used to have. So is there anything we can do to offset that based on the new rules in your experience?
I mean, they did get rid of a lot of loopholes. The benefit for this year, if you do file taxes as a business, is that you can get the 20% qualified business income deduction. So as long as you are making under $215,000, then you get to take off 20% of any of your self-employment income. So that's the filing as a business. That's the advantage there. Other deductions is pretty much on a case-by-case basis.
Now, is that something I would be able to figure out on TurboTax, or is that something I would need a preparer to do for me?
I mean, I would recommend anybody who has self-employment income go talk to a preparer.
Said the preparer.
Obviously, I'm biased, and if anybody wants to tweet at me, I will talk to you. But
that's a dangerous.
Anybody wants to tweet you, huh? You're gonna get a lot of dick pics, dude. People will be filing their, like, it'll be April 3rd, and you're like, you up?
But obviously, as a preparer, I am biased in saying that it is useful to come talk to us, but most of you aren't going to talk to me, so it's not exactly just out of self-interest. But I mean, as soon as you start doing self-employment income, certainly things get more complicated. TurboTax can file a Schedule C as well as any. I mean, they can file it with the IRS, but you're the one who has to put in the numbers, and you're the one who has to decide whether things are deductible expenses or not. And how much time have you spent researching what are deductible expenses?
0.
Exactly. So if you go...
Allegedly.
But obviously for somebody who does actually do a lot of driving around to buy collections, if you have a home office, then you could consider deducting that mileage. That would be a big thing that people might forget about. And if you buy a customer Taco Bell while you meet with them to buy their cards, you might be able to consider that a client entertainment expense.
Hey, nice. That's a reference to something in After Hours that only our people who go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery, give us $20 a month, will have access to. Nice reference to the After Hours. I like it.
And speaking of Patreon and Patreon goals, we have a new Patreon goal, allegedly, which is that...
Oh, no, it's happening.
If and when, which it won't, the Patreon gets to, I believe Jason said 35,000?
3,500.
Sure?
I don't want to wait for 35,000.
Okay, 3,500. I guess I'll take him at his word. I have to sit through some number of hours of cinematic torture, like Chinese water torture, but where they tape but it's with the Mighty Ducks trilogy, and then I have to write some articles, some MTG Finance articles that incorporate the Mighty Ducks synopsis into the bread and butter of the MTG Finance articles. Is that right? Did I get it right?
No, you just have to write a report about each movie, and then it's going to be graded by a 5th grade teacher.
I see. So that's where this email comes in. This email is titled DJ's Report Card, and it is from Zach Backpacks. And it's addressed to you, Jason, and it's also addressed to Corbin, but he's not here. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I am following up on my message on Twitter about Douglas's homework. He hasn't been turning it in. When I asked him about it, he told me the intern ate it. Next year in 6th grade, Douglas will get detention for not turning in his homework. I think it's important that we help him develop good study habits now before it's too late. I would hate to see him go down the wrong path and drop out of school. I'm looking forward to working with you. Douglas's education is very important to me. Sincerely, Mr. Smith.
That's awesome.
That was a good email.
Didn't we set a Patreon goal that if we hit a certain amount, Corbin was going to splash around in a lake in a merfolk costume?
Yes, that is true. I suggested that in our group chat as a 20% joke, 80% real, and then he's like, yeah, I'll do that. But we didn't really set specifications for it, so if we could get that done before winter's end, that would be great, so that we have to make him do it when it's cold out, preferably in the very early morning or very late evening. But when the Patreon, because 3,500 is a stretch goal, right? That's a far hop, skip, and a jump away from where it's at now. But
we'll probably never get to 3,500. You're safe.
No, I know, I'm safe. But 3,000's close, and that's Corbin's downfall. That is where he is going to cosplay as a merfolk of the Discord's choice, and he will have to go for a swim in that cosplay, and embody his true merfolk persona.
He's gonna die, right?
We're gonna find.
I know Walk the Plank can't kill a merfolk, but I think it's gonna kill this one.
We'll find
Isn't the water around him electrified? Didn't they have somebody get electrocuted?
Well, that was because there was like a light. That was because there was like a down power cable in the water or something.
If he doesn't have some lords around him, I think a lightning bolt will take him out.
We'll find the most polluted lake, the most toxic deluge-filled cesspool.
Where they dump all their fracking waste. He's splashing around until he grows gills for real.
So yeah, he's not here for that announcement, but
that's the thing. He's not here to say no, so that's the thing. So thanks to everybody who's a current patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery. We're overwhelmed by your support, but we would like to think that we give you enough value that it's worth it. For as little as $1 a month, which is 20 or 25 cents an episode, you can have access to our Discord channel where you can make fun of Corbin to his face. And
what's the hashtag? What's the hashtag for Corbin's Patreon goal? Hashtag spreading seas. There's got to be some sort of clever pun here.
Merfolk small dickster. I don't know. It was cold in that lake. I don't know. We'll figure
Corbin
it
Helm
out.
cosplayer.
But, you know what? If once you go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery, give us $1 a month, which is 20 or 25 cents an episode, and join the Discord, and then you can suggest it in there. You can make fun of Corbin to his dumb face. And hey, we have some slots in the Discord opening up because we're about to purge the freeloaders. So definitely join us there.
Also, I've got.
Do you have any?
I gotta say,
do you have another email?
I've got to say, how did I guess DJ's too young to go with the Clockwork Orange reference instead of Chinese water torture? I mean, that's just sitting right there.
I have not seen that. I have not seen that movie either.
Well, I guess
I don't know how you missed it.
We have to make him watch Clockwork Orange first, so
that's
he knows.
That's what I really wanted to see because I was a psych major, and then I just didn't see it, so I just I read the summary on Wikipedia.
Stop reading Wikipedia. That's the worst.
Why would you read a summary on Wikipedia?
He reads the Wikipedia summaries of porns. Like, oh, that's hot.
I just wanted to see how it ended.
Cold while this is happening. The whore never stole lemons again. That's how it ended. Do you have another email?
Not really. We have a really, really long one, but we'll save that for next week when Corbin's here.
Let's make Corbin read that. Okay. Would you fellas like to transition into pick of the week, and then we can talk a bit more, and then pinch this one off? What do you say?
I like that transition.
All right.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
I've got a pick from Commander 2018 because everybody thought that set was a dumpster fire, but we're seeing certain cards start to spike, and this is a card that I thought would get picked up a lot more throughout the more ubiquitous play. Like Sower of Discord is now the most expensive card in the set. That's crazy. But with everyone being all lands matter hype, this is a card I was surprised to see go down to $1. Turn Timber Sower is the 3-mana 3/3 that just whenever lands are put in your graveyard from anywhere, you just make a plant, crack a fetch, make a plant, discard some cards to Faithless Looting, make a plant, sack some lands to Squandered Resources, make plants, and then you can pay a green, sack 3 creatures, bring a land from your graveyard to your hand. That's not super relevant, but I mean, just making plants everywhere. I figure people will be real up on that with Avengers Zendikar. I'm kind of surprised this card's $1.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just one you buy like 4 or 5 of and just throw in a box for a year or two.
That set was real weird because some of the really bad cards that were signaled at first just sort of like never went down. I like Treasure Nabber a lot more than most people. I think it just didn't really work out as well as people thought. But I still run Treasure Nabber and it's actually really effective, but people just don't care about it. So yeah, Commander 2018 was just a weird set. Everyone was disappointed, but it sold a lot, which is why someone like Turntober Sower is a buck, just because a lot of Commander 2018 sold. People bitched, but they also bought, and that's something Gavin's acknowledged. He's like, look, we're sorry we made it bad. We'll make it better so you don't complain, but we're not making it better because you buy it, because you bought it. So, Commander 2019 was announced. It's going to be 4 decks. We don't know anything more than that, but it's going to be good. Because he said so. He came on this podcast and said so. I have a Commander pick also. This was in Commander 2014 and Commander Anthology, in addition to Ravnica. I think this is a card that Nicky decks really like.
Primeval
in addition,
Sage?
Yeah, Primordial
Sage.
Yep. I think this is the one that's poised to do things out of all the cards in the Nicky deck, because you have the Beast Whisperer, which is very new, and that's lower on the mana curve, which is good. But this is a nice fat body at 4/5, and then you have the other one, the one from Innistrad. What's that one called? Whatever. You got the.
I don't know, man.
Oh, Soul the Harvest.
Oh yeah. Primordial Sage is weird to me. I don't know. Just random aside, this card doesn't look like it's from Ravnica, right? Like, this card just looks as though it was some sort of slush card from Kamigawa that got scrapped at the last second, and then somebody said that they promised like their younger brother that they'd make it, so then they jammed it into Ravnica. Like, it's a spirit. It's got like really weird like. There's no cityscape in the art at all. It's like this open field, I think, and so I don't know.
Well, there's like a tower in the background, and there's a bunch of druids flocking around. So I guess it's supposed to be a Gruul card, sorta. Like, there were Gruul clans that weren't all like, right? Were there a bunch of different Gruul clans? And maybe this is one with all the hippies that are just growing the pot and stuff, and not shaving their armpits and stuff.
I just want somebody like Forsyth or Verhead to just be like, yep, DJ, you're right. That card was originally in Sabers of Kamigawa, and then it got cut for Kataki, and then I'll be like, yes.
And now you have Vorthos cred, and you can't get rid of that. Now you have to care about minutia that doesn't affect finance at all. So enjoy that. Yeah, Primordial Sage. The other card I was thinking of is Soul the Harvest, which is 6 mana 6/6 instead of a 6 mana 4/5. So it's a bit of a fatter body, and it's got that trample. And it's whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card, where Primordial Sage says you have to cast it. But I still think Sage has room to go up. And Soul the Harvest is so cheap already. I think Primordial Sage is the one that's going to make a move. So you could look at both of those, I guess. But Soul the Harvest is a much cheaper buy-in.
It's also one of the welcome deck rares, so that's a no-go.
Yeah, that does hurt it. But Innistrad foils might not be too bad. Explorers of Ixalan, Commander Anthology, promotional welcome. I think it's only been in foil once, and it's only about a $5 foil. So if you're worried about continued reprints, that seems fairly safe to me. So that's another card to look at. So if you just had spreadsheet access, you'd missed all that explanation. But I do like Primordial Sage, and I think it's going places on the basis of Nikia, which was my theme this week. That's why I picked Temur Sabertooth and Manglehorn.
All right. When I get to play Magic, not during the tax season, I usually play Modern, and one of my Modern decks is Dredge. And Life from the Loam is still near basically at its low after its Ultimate Masters reprinting. Its market price is about 12, whereas the first Modern Masters and Ravnica printings are of market price about 22. And Dredge is definitely picking up as one of the better decks right now. And with the new mulligan rule, perhaps it'll be even better if that mulligan rule does go through. So you have to think that the Ultimate Masters printing will go up closer to the Modern Masters and Ravnica printings, I would imagine.
I think decks like that, like combo decks that like have a lot of cantrips and stuff where your hand size doesn't matter as much as, Dredge, which is like your graveyard is your hand. I think that deck definitely benefits from the new mulligan rule. For those who don't know, instead of taking fewer cards, you'll still drop to 7 every time, but for every time you've mulliganed, you'll put 1 card on the bottom of your library. So, if you mull 3 times, you will draw 7, put 3 back, keep 4.
But you'll look at several hands.
Yep.
Exactly. And for Dredge, I always hate when I mulligan and see an Archimedes in my hand. So now I would put that on the bottom.
Do you still scry after?
No, you don't scry anymore.
I thought you... Oh, yeah, no scrying after. Yeah, there was the discussion of serum powder. You do that after putting them on the bat. You draw to 7.
By the time we got confirmation of that, serum powder had already sold out. I was like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that one was a confusing one. But since Dredge plays so many fetch lands, you put the Narcomoebas on the bottom, shuffle them, and then hope to dredge them over. So definitely, the mulligan rule definitely seems like it'll help Dredge.
Nice. Life from Loam's a pet card of mine, so I'm happy if it's expensive because I have a set of Ravnica foil signed to Reese Nielsen ones.
That's nice. And I wonder if that box topper is not super expensive right now. I'm not making that as my pick, but that might be one of the ones that could go up in the future.
Maybe. I think all box toppers are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It depends if they print them into, if they keep doing them. Anytime they do something special, it's like, oh, this is nuts and unprecedented, and then they do it 3 years in a row, and it's like, no! Boy, we were making JJ work for it, cutting all these awkward silences.
Yeah. You don't know how much you missed the white noise boy until he's gone.
Yeah, Corbin just... Well, even if he didn't say something, he'd be chewing right now.
Or his cereal bowl. Or is that Brian?
No, they're both... all of the ice cream bowl, cereal bowl...
that's right.
All of the various food noises are Corbin.
Hey, Corbin.
The cookie clicker, it's all Corbin. Well, Jeff, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you educating us all on tax law.
Thank you for having me. It was good.
Thanks for sticking away from the bird law.
That's my next volunteer hobby project, will be bird law.
I've been binging the last 2 seasons of It's Always Sunny, so that's my work project recently.
There you go.
So you did challenge people to talk to you on Twitter. So where can they do that? Where can they start sending their tax questions on tax day eve?
Well, on tax day eve, I will not reply. But if you talk to me in if you talk to me in March, you can tweet at me at JALLOTTA. That's my name. So I would be happy to answer. Obviously, I cannot give detailed answers without detailed questions. But if you do have simple questions, I'd be happy to answer those on Twitter.
Sounds good. And Jason, where can people find you?
Twitter!
You can find Jason on Twitter. Just look for any sort of vulgar hockey disagreement. You'll find him there.
I did get into it with a guy today who who played 5 games in the NHL and called me gay, and that was fun.
Just search Blackhawks on Twitter and you'll find him and Proxy Guy talking to each other.
Yeah, we don't typically tag the team, but yeah, right.
And Corbin, where can people find you?
in an airplane sitting next to a guy who's shipping off to basic training talking about his favorite casual deck. In the middle seat currently. So
Oh, is that where?
Godspeed, Corbin. Yep. He got bumped. He spent all day getting bumped. He's like, good, give me those vouchers. Hey, if, I had a 3-year-old son at home and wanted to get home and see him, I might not take so many delay vouchers, but, you do you.
And they're American airline vouchers, so they just get worse every, like, he's going to spend it and be like, yeah, free true, and then another delay voucher comes in.
Yeah, right, he's just going to spend all those points on a seat he's going to get dragged out of, so, like, you can go anywhere except Disney.
I'm going to Disneyland. No, you're not. That's Brainstorm Brewery, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to the whole episode. I can't believe you didn't turn it off.
We will be back next week with Corbin, with some updated Patreon spice. I've got some Brain Bites in the mix coming out soon. All that good stuff. Rolling outro.
Woo!
Stop.
Funny.